Patient 56361, admitted to St Rosaline Mental Institution August the 23rd, 1964, following her collection from the Old Port Police Station after experiencing an extreme mental breakdown born from hysteria. 3 days after her admittance, patient 56361 has finally settled into the institution, and we conducted a preliminary interview of which revealed the following. Patient experienced auditory hallucinations from a young age, detailing laying in bed late at night before a school day, hearing people whisper her name or short words or phrases to her, such as hello or come here. Patient also described hearing closing doors, footsteps, coughing, distant shouting, and general movement while alone. We have deduced that the hallucinations began somewhere around the ages 6 to 7. Patient stated initial auditory hallucinations exclusively occurred at night while unable to sleep. Supposed cause, overactive imagination. During adolescence, ages 17 to 21, patient was employed by T.C. Brierley toy makers, during which time the auditory hallucinations ceased. At age 21, patient's parents passed away and employment ceased. Supposed cause, extreme grief affected work efficiency. Patient stated initial auditory hallucinations returned following unemployment and began to occur during the daytime as well as night. Daytime hallucinations appeared to affect patient more severely, detailing that the day is when things happen and it suddenly becomes much more plausible that the noises are real. Supposed cause, patient's grief brought about hysterical episodes, manifesting in past experiences. Possible first stages of schizophrenia. Patient then began to explain cases of extreme memory loss, detailing several accounts of losing items, such as a book, cup of tea, keys, pens, and so on. Patient stated items she had recently used would go missing to rooms she had no memory of entering that day. Other detailed cases of extreme memory loss occurred as leaving lights on, windows and doors open, food and toiletries inexplicably being used up or going missing. Patient began experiencing visual hallucinations at age 23, initially describing shadows as tall as a person and movement in peripheral vision. Patient went on to describe an instance of a figure stood in her bedroom doorway while she slept, and experiencing the feeling of being watched before the figure would then disappear into the darkness of her hallway. Patient affirmed she had seen this figure more than once, as well as others like it, such as a similar figure stood beside her front door that would be seen while cooking in the kitchen, a figure crouched beside her dining room table that would run at her on all fours before also disappearing, a figure stood in the window of her back room while gardening. Patient specifically described hallucinating footsteps in the attic above her bedroom, pacing for several hours of the night about a week before admittance to St Rosaline Mental Institution. Patient stated she was more upset by this auditory hallucination than others after seeing the figures around her home. Initial conclusions thus far. Patient could not cope with the grief of losing her parents and suffered a psychotic breakdown. Patient's resulting firing from her employment and loss of permanent financial stability and family caused further devolution, and patient developed significant schizophrenia, of which the majority of symptoms materialized as severe delusion and extreme hallucinations. Incident resulting in patient 56361's admittance to St Rosaline Mental Institution occurred 21st of August, 1964. Later investigation concluded patient had suffered another severe psychotic breakdown the evening of stated date that resulted in her running from home in panic. Patient 56361 has now explained the incident to our staff as the following. I had been sat at my work desk partaking in my hobby of short story writing before bed, when I had heard footsteps running down the hallway towards me. The footsteps had been so loud I had startled and jumped up from my chair to face the doorway, expecting to see an intruder. Instead, a dark figure had loomed in the shadows of the hall. I couldn't make out features on its face, but it had held a menacing presence. And then it had run at me, and the sounds of its footsteps had joined it, rapidly getting louder and closer. I had panicked and run away, having never before faced a figure that seemed to be able to actually threaten me. I had intended to run just to my kitchen on the opposite side of my house, thinking the figure would disappear as they always had done. But when the footsteps instead followed me, I had headed for my front door to escape. As I had been trying to leave, something had caught my arm. It had just felt hot at first, but when I was outside, I'd found 2 thin scratches along my upper arm. You saw them, they weren't deep, but there is nothing anywhere near my front door I could have caught myself on, and I would never do that to myself. Patient 56361 had then become too hysterical to continue her recount. Patient was discovered by a neighbour outside her home. She was barefoot and dressed in her nightclothes, exhibiting clear signs of distress and hysteria, and was unable to explain coherently what had occurred. Patient had been escorted to Old Port Police Station, who had promptly telephoned St. Rosaline Mental Institution. Injuries found on patient upon her initial admittance include 2 abrasions on the right bicep, each about 3 inches in length, a heat burn on the palm of the right hand in the thenar region, about 1 inch in length and half an inch in width, bruising along both legs at the knee and thigh. Patient's injuries have led us to conclude she is a danger to herself and those immediately around her. Patient has been required to remain within the isolation ward until she is no longer deemed unsafe. Diagnosis and treatments. Patient 56361 experiences severe schizophrenia, frequent episodes of hysteria, and extreme hallucinations. The following treatments will continue to be administered. Chlorpromazine will be administered, scheduled for Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at precisely 6 a.m. September 1964. Approximately 1 month since patient 56361's admittance, we have conducted a preliminary exam and interview regarding patient's initial treatment. Our conclusions are as follows. Patient 56361 has had no significant improvements following her treatment. Patient stated auditory hallucinations and visual hallucinations are still present. Dosage of chlorpromazine will be upped to each day at precisely 6 a.m. 2 nurses have noted separately that while in restraints during hysterical episodes, patient has moved file notes and serving trays around their room as well as locked their door from within their room. Constant surveillance will be required upon next episode. September 1964. Patient had another hysterical episode. Nurse Mandy Blaine was assigned to sit with patient, but had left the room approximately after 2 hours, refusing to re-enter. Further investigation will be undergone. February 3rd, 1965. Patient 56361 stated they no longer experience auditory or visual hallucinations. However, patient still experiences episodes of hysteria and shows clear signs of schizophrenia. We have come to the conclusion that patient 56361 is lying about their symptoms to avoid further treatment. Additionally, it is clear that the dosage of chlorpromazine has not been sufficient in curing the patient. The following treatments will continue to be administered. Metrazole shock therapy scheduled for Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Electroconvulsive therapy scheduled for Saturdays and Sundays. Chlorpromazine will be administered each day at precisely 6 a.m. Note regarding patient 56361's house, of which was repossessed by St. Rosaline Mental Institution on patient's admittance with the intention of being sold to finance patient's stay and further fund treatment to other patients. House has thus far been unable to sell. Estate agent contracted to St. Rosaline Mental Institution has reported strange happenings during viewings with clientele, detailing a figure sighted within front windows on the first floor and odd noises heard during viewings. Several staff had voiced concerns regarding estate agents' mental well-being due to these reports. A preliminary check will be conducted during his next meeting.